Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Magic the Gathering Arena uh live stream. Yeah, I guess that's what this is. Today's Friday, May 29th. In the last recording, last stream, my stupid OBS crashed again. I don't know what's causing that to happen. It seems like it's just all of a sudden started to happen ever since they introduced like the latest major number change in the software. I don't really think it's anything I'm doing. Uh, the peak feature that switches scenes back and forth a lot certainly is not a standard feature. It's something I developed, but it shouldn't really be causing it trouble. Uh, you may also notice that I played a little bit off screen yesterday by playing 9 lands, but I don't think I even got a single victory from it, so I kind of gave up after 3 or 4 games of barely paying attention. So yeah, see what the daily deal is. Just more skins. We have 10,000 gold, which this arena would require 20,000. This is the arena where, in theory, if you get 7 wins for 20,000, then you would go to day 2 of this arena. And this basically is a digital version of the contest. But look at this. For 3 losses, if you don't get 3 wins, you don't even get 400 gems, let alone the 4,000 you would need to recoup your entry fee. In fact, even if you get 6 wins, you're not recouping your entry fee. You're maybe getting 2,000 gems. It doesn't even really say. And then if we look at preview day 2, and for 0 wins, if you make it to the second 0 wins, it becomes even more difficult because you have then only 2 losses. And then if you get 1 victory at that point, you get 2,000 gems, which would recoup your investment, or unless you're just using 20,000 gold, but even then, that really doesn't matter. And then if you make 2 wins on the second day, you get double your investment, and then 6,000 gems, then 10,000 gems, then 20,000 gems, then at this you get $1,000 United States dollars, which oddly means that they think that 40,000 gems is the equivalent of $1,000 US dollars. And maybe it is. Well, let's go check out the shop in a second. And if you win this, you will win $2,000. Yeah, very few people are going to win that, though. Very, very few people. But in all fairness, this does feel like this could end up costing Wizards of the Coast a lot more money than they were thinking if a lot of people participated, and a lot of people just won because a lot of people participated. Probably is calculated in such a way that it doesn't matter, because they will probably always make enough money regardless. But let's just look at a gem pack here. 20,000 gems is worth $100. So 40,000 gems really should only be a reward of $200. So if you make it into that second day and get $1,000 reward, you probably have to pay taxes on that, and that could be 50% at that point. So let's say that's actually closer to $500 you're walking away with. That's still $300 more than the equivalent of just spending $200 to get 20,000 worth of gems. Plus, it's actually getting money out of a system here that is designed to not allow you to get money out of a system. I suppose we're still trying to get to Platinum Tier 3, just for the fun of it. On this, we need to play white or red cards, so we won't be able to do that. We have a Friday Night Magic that will give us a rare card, so we need to play that. So let's see, what can we play here? Let's just play the red test and see how this works. We have a decent amount of things to talk about, decent amount of games and tabs and news articles to talk about today on this Friday, and we don't want to go long, so I'm going to jump into that really quickly. There's an ever-increasing amount of prologues and demos, a lot of demos labeled prologues that are coming out on Steam, and I don't know if this perhaps is because there's been a change to the What's on Steam Twitter feed, so it's showing off demos now, or the API on Steam that would cause the Twitter feed to show demos now, or if it's just because everybody doesn't want to release a game, so why not release a demo instead. This might all just be pandemic related, and I guess that is another thought, certainly. Well, I guess I'll have to put this on the field since I really don't have anything else. What does this do? Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, exile cards from the top of the library until you exile a non-land card with converted mana cost less than the spells. You can cast this card without paying its mana cost. Interesting. So, let's see. How would I want to do this? I think I put that on the field. And then I think I do this. And do this. This is gonna drive me crazy. Oh, but it puts the cards back in your deck, so you're fine. You're perfectly fine then. If it was exiling all of those cards, I would run out of cards very, very quickly. Each permanent card used in starting deck has an activated ability. Activate abilities cost less to cast. Interesting. Is that helpful? Let's just go ahead and put it on the field anyways. This is working way better than it should be. Really should not be working this well. Can I activate this ability? I think so. Okay. So I have been playing The Evil Within 2. Some weird thing happened where I think I just accidentally rolled over on my mouse and it closed Steam in total. So I went back to the continue and it checkpointed fine, so it wasn't really an issue. But I've managed to play maybe another hour or two on top of that, and it really is just kind of getting everything into this level of an open world experience that deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent controls. Sure, why not? Let's see. So it feels weird, to say the least. It doesn't feel like you're in a situation that is like the first game. It doesn't really even feel like the Evil Within 2 is guaranteed in a way that it actually was going to be the Evil Within 2 in early production. It would have been fairly easy to have some Dead Rising like zombie game in an open world environment, and the open world environment so far as I've gotten hasn't really been that open world. It's more of a stealth game in a small open world environment. Let's see. There it went through all of my cards completely. And that was a fairly easy victory. I don't know if that's because I got lucky or if just playing red with this deck and this thing is a right move. There is something weird about this challenge in particular in that it's showing you this pack on the screen, and I don't think you get the pack ever. So it's deceptive. Let's see. But it is hard to talk about the Evil Within 2 because there's just kind of nothing that's happened so far. So it's kind of hard to have anything to say. And the animation probably doesn't need to play. It probably would be easier just for it to say no cards, no matching cards or something. Just have like a symbol or something that synergizes with that. So yeah, but I have been getting some recording done. Although I will also admit fully that yesterday I was particularly lethargic, and I definitely did not get anywhere as far as I would have liked to have gotten with that. As far as recording things. And yeah, I don't know how scary the Evil Within 2 really will be as a Dead Rising style game. It feels like I'm gonna fairly quickly build strong enough weapons that I lose interest in other things. Right. I'm gonna cycle this and we'll see what this does. Is that 2? Okay. Like, so yeah, let's just start covering the news, and we'll probably have a lot of duplicate stuff that I have to go through. CD Projekt Red starts its 2020 off with a record Q1 as the Witcher series continues its reign. It's sold over $50 million in revenue, as it were. So 50 million across the Witcher series, not bad. I'm still thinking that a good indie game gets 300,000 either units sold. Yeah. So I still really need to write down these numbers and lock it into my head as far as what should be considered a good number of units sold, what should be considered a good number of of money to make in revenue. Right. 3 to this guy. We're flying. Do I want to do anything else? And can I do anything else at the moment? Yeah, I guess I can. So we have a game on Steam here called Intemporal, which looks like it's might be maybe an adventure game, but it seems to kind of lack anything interesting. It does kind of just seem like you're walking through a very empty area. One thing I was thinking about, and I would imagine Valve would come out and announce this, if they had a system where they would take a lot of games and then very easily take somebody's game and go, alright, the first 30 minutes, we're going to chop that out of your game and we're going to list that as a prologue, specifically using the phrase prologue. That would, at a certain level, explain some things. As far as just the high number of prologues that we've seen, or games with prologue in the name. But I'm not sure I really buy that either, because that would be fairly expensive. Let's go and hit this. Let's go ahead and scry this. What it might be is that we're seeing a large number of games with prologue in the name because of the 2-hour refund limit, but see, that would also be an argument as to why are so many people making demos when they had already been given the easy out of just saying, well, Valve will give you a no questions asked refund for a 2-hour game, regardless, unless Valve cut some of these small game creators a bone and said, if you release a prologue version of your game, we won't be so consumer friendly and we will stop honoring the no questions asked refund policy. That too wouldn't make very little sense. Let's see. Didn't know it would play creatures like that. Tap to do 1 damage. Let's see, enchant a land. So, yeah, the only thing that really starts to make any sense is if people are just putting out prologues because of the pandemic situation. Or the API has just changed and people were always putting out prologues and I was just not seeing it. Which I'm willing to believe that also. Let's see. Let's go ahead and activate this. Let's see. Discard a card and draw a card. 3 damage to any target. I'll just hold on to that card next turn. And attack. Attack with everything. Yeah, it has to be a decision of the game makers or a slight change in the API, because Valve would announce it. Valve's not particularly doing anything right now, so it would be fairly crazy for them to... Number of lands you control. Okay. That's a lot of... It's a lot of stuff, but we can now attack with these two. Next game we have on Steam is called 3D Maze in Space. By the looks of it, you can see it's pretty low effort. An asset flippy for 99 cents with a bunch of languages. We don't need to say anything new around that. Let's see. Oh, is Game of Sutra gonna load? Yeah, it took its sweet time. Let's... Target creature cannot block this turn. Okay, can't block. Meanwhile, we'll just go ahead and attack with a 5. So he's gonna have to decide whether he wants to block or he wants to let it do 5 more damage. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Steam Cloud Play Beta lets developers enable GeForce Now integration. Which is funny because GeForce Now, if it's the offering I think it is, has now gone fully opt-in after all that bad press. In a weird way, also I saw a story that the Power Rangers Battle for the Grid game is the first game to have crossplay amongst 5 different platforms. So I assume that means it's on the Switch, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, the Stadia platform, and some other non-Steam PC platform on top of being on Steam. And I guess it always was a good chance that it would be some game that not too many people really cared about that would be the first in that category. I figure that maybe Steam Cloud benefits quite a bit if GeForce Now works with it, and GeForce Now probably benefits quite a bit if Steam Cloud works with that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a merger between the two and just a sell-off of the entire property from GeForce to Steam. That would make a lot of sense, because then the proven mistake here could be corrected by having a different company in charge of it and actually asking for permission in the first place. We've gone and gotten 2 victories fairly easily in this Friday extra event, but Magic still has a problem with having too many extra events by far. So we get another card that we didn't have before. And we're getting another card because we went up a level. But it does just... This is just like false advertising. Let's see. You can receive a code for an Arena Friday Night Magic promo pack containing 2 cosmetic items when you share your results with your local game store. So this has to do with the local game store. And that sucks. Because I'm definitely not going to start messing with a local game store. Particularly considering how a lot of them are probably going to be out of business pretty soon. And we just continue down this path, getting more skins. Yep, only a few more. And we only need to play lands, so this is just straight up play standard ranked. There's not a good argument to try to play a draft when the events are going to end in 48 hours and we've done all of that. We just want to play ranked and see if we can get up one more tier. If we can get up one more tier, we should probably stop and not push our luck. Here we have a game called Infinity Impendum. It's a bunch of purple space backgrounds. It looks bad. It's tagged as a real-time strategy game. It's $11.99. It's English only. Yep. Am I willing to risk just 2 mana? Like, the problem with my deck is too few lands, obviously. And Gamma Sutra is loading very slow today. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Control, Sayonara Wild Hearts are the lead winners of the 2020 Nordic Game Awards. There was, let's see, a Game of the Year regular and a Game of the Year small screen. And then Best Fun for Everyone went to What the Golf. And then Best Design went to Baba's You. And then Best Audio went to Muta's Zioni. Never heard of that one or don't recognize it. Best Debut went to My Friend Pedro, and Best VR XR went to Ghost Giant. So, I don't know the Nordic Game Awards per se. It's probably as insignificant as any other game award that happens. But, yeah. Now would be the time for a lot of awards ceremonies to pop up in general. Like every single mainstream video game site like Giant Bomb or IGN or anything like that, now would be the time for them to experiment and do a new game awards of sorts, because they've got nothing to write about anyways, and it would be a way for them to pander. You could easily go back to the best game of 2020, best game of 2019, just work all your way backwards. Best game of 1970, like just start with the year Pong released and then have a best game that came out that year. It doesn't even really have to mean anything. It would just be better than clickbait articles. Although that still would be pretty clickbaity. Gamma Sutra has an article here. HP has debuted a $600 Reverb G2 VR headset with Valve and Microsoft tech built in. So yet another VR headset has been released. How do we want to do this? Let's just take 2 hits and buy ourselves some more time to think. Play this instead. Play this instead. And let's only attack with this one. And then end the turn. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam here called Derange, which looks like it's a pixel graphics kind of RPG maker type game. Does anything here look interesting to me? Not really. My Big Sister in Red Bow. English and Russian. Let's see what this developer has done before and see if he's got any good reviews. Let's see. Well, we have a positively reviewed Scary Stories bundle, and then House of Legionwood and Scared to Play. And then you have a mixed and a mixed, and then you have a game called One Night. Yeah, I don't see anything there that's recognizable though, and this doesn't attract my attention. So I think I could easily dismiss this game as at best being average. This guy's going to be a nightmare. Right. And I don't think I can win here. I don't think I have enough. I don't think I have enough life. So play this. Put this on the ground. And we have to just do no attacks, and we're gonna have to block everything and see if we can turn this around. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article here, and the African mobile game publisher Carry First has secured $2.5 million to expand its operation. Okay. Yep. We'll probably not hear any big news from that company for a while. TechRaptor has an article, Mortal Kombat 11 Battle Pass uncovered by a data miner. So, alright. It does kind of seem like they need to move on to the next Mortal Kombat game, but maybe they're just kind of in this holding pattern where they don't know really what they're gonna do with the next game anyway, so that they are just trying to establish some footing by lengthening the life of the current Mortal Kombat. Okay. So I'm gonna stop this one and kill this one, and then kill this one, and then kill that one, or let those two through, I think. Okay. Put this on the field. And next. No attack. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Xbox Series X will support will add high dynamic range support to backwards compatible titles. I don't know how you really would be able to do that, frankly. Seems unlikely to do that without some kind of algorithm, like, because you're taking a source, basically you're taking the equivalent of a black and white film, and then saying you're going to be able to turn that into color. And even now that process is not perfect and is often very much done manually. So high dynamic range support might be a little exaggerated, because I just don't think those games would have been designed to really support that. So this one's going to do a bunch of damage to me to start off with, so we need to do this first and then play this and do that. Yep, and it wasn't enough to save me. There goes a pip. And we'll see if we can win or lose. That probably was a mistake just from the beginning because of not having enough land. What I feel like what you would do is you'd probably just have a matrix where you took the 65 million colors that they're probably working in, the 65 million colors, and you just would then expand those colors out further. You would make black go from being a black that would probably be, I think, measured in nits, so, or lumens, so the black would probably be somewhere around 4,000 lumens, just to pick a random number off the top of my head, in a standard color setup of old backward compatible games. And then you would just change it from 4,000 down to, say, 100. I'm not going to assume that high dynamic range really is still capable or programmed to actually have a black that's actually pure black with 0 lumens. And then you take pure white, which, let's say pure white was a really as bright a white as you could have done at the time, but now you can do, say, 10 to 20,000 extra lumens of brightness. You just stretch it out, and you probably just skip some things in the middle. So there might be instances where a subtle orange here compared to a different shade of orange originally were designed to be right next to each other, and there might be something right in the middle of the green gamut where one green drastically jumps to a different shade of green, and you never see the shades in between because they've just put like a artificial gap in the middle. If you're not doing something like that to get a like artificial dynamic range in the game, then you would have to do some kind of dithering or something to blend two colors together sometimes. Kind of like how smaller resolutions would be translated and scaled up to a higher resolution. But I bet it's nowhere as impressive as people think it's going to be. I would be fairly certain that if the backward compatibility games do have HDR in it, people will forget. If anything, it might just be that it is just going to plug in the same old colors through a HDR connection so TVs don't blink or change modes because they're getting a different signal. And I'm not sure that there's even a 1080p monitor out there with HDR anyways. You very well may have to have a 2K or 4K monitor with a newer version of HDMI plugged into it before you can even approach HDR anyways. Like, I just saw an article saying, hey, if you have a monitor that does 144 Hertz, it probably doesn't even do that by default, so you need to go into the monitor's setup and make sure you have that enabled. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. My Time in Porsche developer has announced a new puzzle game called Ever Forward. We may have seen this, or maybe not. Alright, these are the kinds of artsy looking games that sometimes catch my attention. We'll see how much of a real game this really is, though. Because a lot of these games also are really short and they're just kind of meh. We are always in this weird position with video games where if you want good gameplay, you usually need to get a dude bro character that is in a first-person shooter in a military environment, and if you want good puzzling or good story or good narration, you usually need to then have a story that's around a little girl lost in a fantasy land or something along that line. And almost inevitably the gameplay is nowhere as good as the first person shooter military game. And I guess there's probably some reasons to that, like what is being focused on, what the creators are spending their effort on. But it would be nice if perhaps two separate companies with two separate ideas merged together for one great game. Even when you look at Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, like a very pretty game that I assume runs fairly well as far as the gameplay, but doesn't actually have a gameplay mechanic of really any importance or worth mentioning. Moving on, we have an Open Critic article here. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition releases in August. So, another Final Fantasy spin-off coming out. Let's see, I should think a lot harder about some of these announcement dates at this point, because it's questionable. Like, it's really questionable. Even if the United States is approaching a point where they can securely be outside of the social distancing idea and that they're just going to go back to their day-to-day lives, the United States has not even begun to think about, and I don't think the world has even begun to think about how they recover from all the jobs lost and all the productivity lost and just all the money lost there. People are going to be poor, and I think people are going to be poor for quite a long time. Spain just announced a minimum income per family, which will be an interesting experiment to watch. Certainly, the general idea is that it's kind of like universal basic income, but it's really just a small amount, from what I saw, to make sure people don't starve to death, which that's something. It's amazing how hard it has been to convince people to even agree on the general concept that people should not be allowed to starve to death no matter what. TechRaptor has an article here. Slime Rancher Pool Party update brings summer fun. I thought the slimes died if they were in the water, but maybe a certain style of slimes doesn't. And I really thought that Slime Rancher was done. That's a game I believe I own and I wanted to get around to playing eventually. but it's a little shocking or off-putting to see a game that came out, it feels like 2 years ago, and have some new thing added to it, making it difficult to then to justify playing the game. Because, like, yeah, how am I supposed to play a game that never finishes? I could say at this time this is what the game is, but it gets right back to the early access beta problem. I prefer to only review finished products. So this guy's just gonna attack each turn, and I'm just gonna have to try and let him. Gamma Sutra has an article, we already really talked about this. After some high-profile opt-outs, NVIDIA GeForce now swaps to an opt-in library. So, okay. Yeah. I actually did get asked to sign into my Bethesda account, which it's surprising I even had a Bethesda account when playing Evil Within 2. And one of the things it unlocks is infinite stamina, which is a very tempting cheat to be able to play with. You get like 3 little cheat unlocks, but it is definitely very tempting to just speed up the experience that you might have playing Evil Within 2. But it would just be another thing that turns it into more of a high action game and less of a horror experience. A lot of the Evil Within 2 feels like Dead Rising, with definitely some elements that feel like they were either stolen directly from the trailer of Resident Evil 7, or Resident Evil 7 stole the concepts from the Evil Within 2. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 people were working on the same game, those games at the same time, and they just shared notes. There's particularly a scene at the very beginning where a zombie is forcing a person to eat horrible mush, and while that isn't an amazingly unique concept, that there is definitely a scene in the early part of Resident Evil 7 like that also. Of course, that also could just all be inspired by some movie that I can't think of at the moment. Well, there is Double Dragon, the movie, 80s movie where a monster is being forced to eat a bunch of mush. But I don't think that would be the reference points. I'm really failing to use a witch's oven, but whatever. We're gonna have to figure something out. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. 5 new games have been added to Google Stadia's library, so it's still live. Those games are Get Packed, Little Nightmares, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and Panzer Dragoon Remake, and Super Hot. Okay. I don't believe for a second, though, that Google Stadia is going to be something that Google supports for the long haul. I just don't believe it. Here's the article we talked about earlier. The Witcher series sales top 50 million. New sales milestone for 13-year-old franchise. Although I believe, much like the Fallout franchise, I'm not sure that CD Projekt Red was really in charge of The Witcher 1 and 2. So you kind of have a couple of game series like that where the real people behind the development of series are leave after the first couple before they gain any success, and then somebody takes their ideas and improves upon them, modernizes them, and then makes them more successful. Although in fairness, things like Diablo 3 really failed to accomplish that. If anything, Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 were the successes in Diablo 3. was more of the failure. So I guess it can go both ways. So, you know, this is 50 million copies, not $50 million, which would be a very small amount. So we are seeing a number between an indie company selling 300,000 units, and that being considered a good deal, and an entire series selling 50 million, a series of about 5 games. No, I think 4 games, 3 Witcher games and Gwent. Although Gwent kind of has 2 versions in the PC and mobile versions. That's a very wide swath, certainly, between what the right number of sales would be. It's also a fairly small number compared to 7 billion people out in the world. It definitely gives a good example that a lot of people can't afford games and won't play a specific singular game, even if they do play video games in general. And see, if I'd been playing this right, he would probably be at 15, and I might actually have a chance of winning instead of the nightmare scenario that I'm gonna end up in. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Eternal Dreamers, which looks like it's an RPG clone. And I don't hate the animation of the characters here, but it does kind of just seem like it's nothing, just a RPG Maker game. It's early access, it's $6.99, it's English only with a third-party EULA. Yep. And you know, with the Steam Summer Sale coming at some point, that would be a good point to take a break and do a live stream of just cleaning up my wish list, or just browsing and shopping for the summer sale. Like, we might decide to do something like that. And he's got me, so let's not waste ourselves some time and just concede. And we're down another pip. I guess if we lose one more time, we'll just give up and play non-ranked. That way we can save ourselves some time and get victories. Gamatsu has the same article here. Everforward demo is now available for PC. Play as a young girl on an arduous journey. And we already kind of skipped through that tutorial, or that trailer. I think I probably have too many of these in my deck. Put that on the field, put that on the field, end the turn. We have a game on Steam here called Polybridge 2, which I think would be a sequel to the popular Polybridge series, but this might be just a name confusion game. We can see it's rated positively, and we definitely saw a bunch of other games that were Polybridge clones. Of course, the recommendation engine is still pretty bad about recommending things. Apparently I already own Polybridge 1. Alright, well, does it have enough positive reviews? Yes. $14.99 is way too expensive, but I'll put it on the wish list anyways. Bunch of languages. I don't know if there's enough reason or hype to to play Polybridge even 1 now, because that certainly was one of those games that somebody like Markiplier was playing on YouTube, and that definitely was the thought pattern of owning a game like that, more than really wanting to play it. I'll play it for like 5 minutes, but I think that would be probably about as much time as I would be interested in actually spending on something like Polybridge. Well, gotta play that then, and might as well play that. See, next we have a game on Steam called Pilots of Darussalam, which looks like it's a just old school shooter game, but it's a new game, so it's just ugly really. Looks like a Lander clone, if anything. I can't even get a full screen image in the entire screenshot. $4.49, English, allegedly full audio. Yeah. Lander, one of many of those old arcade-like games that really were never fun. Oh, I never found them fun. Next we have a game on Steam here called Beatdown Brawler, which seems like you're doing a fighting game with maybe some, not beatboxing, but what is it, breakdancing is what that's called. Optional rhythm mode. This could be a good fighting game. Chances are it won't be. But English full audio, early access, it doesn't look terrible enough to immediately dismiss. So I'll just have to put it on the follow list, and we'll just have to see what happens to it. Play that. Go ahead and play this. And then go ahead and attack with these two. Tech Raptor has an article here. The Twitch Prime June rewards have been revealed. So, what do you get? A bunch of SNK games and a bunch of in-game loot. Check out the article if you want to know the exact details, or just go to Twitch Prime if you have Twitch Prime and see it. I think I already collected all of those. I probably haven't been really great about always collecting those rewards, and it really doesn't matter at all because you get these games, but they're on an Amazon game app launcher that I don't even have installed, and I would never remember to check or never look at. There's probably at least half a dozen games between the Epic Store and the Twitch Prime Store that I don't own on Steam, and I might as well not own them because I'll just never know, and I'll never check. So if it's not in my Steam library, I would just buy the game a second time, just because it's of the lack of integration. Okay, this is gonna get more troubling as this keeps going, because he's gonna do 1 damage to me, and then I'm gonna get 1 damage back, but he's gonna also gain life, so it's no longer viable to keep on attacking. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article. Guerrilla Collective Showcase adds 14 companies. So it's going to be an indie showcase that now includes several other companies. Let's see if we can mention anybody of importance. It seems like they're fairly indie companies. Night Dive Studios, the makers of System Shock and Turok. Sure. Serenity Forge, the creators of Neversong and Cyanide and Happiness Freakopocalypse. And the Molasses Flood, the developers of The Flame in the Flood and Drake Hollow. Is pretty much it. Kit Fox Games, the creator of Boyfriend Dungeon and Dwarf Fortress. This indie showcase might have something to show, or it might just be 100 companies with very little to show. They may very well be going with quantity over quality. But it's still probably a smarter move to be in one large indie showcase event than competing against a large amount of AAA games that would be out and announced. Next, we have a game on Steam called Resolution, which looks like it's a top-down fighter, twin-stick shooter type game. This might be good, it might be bad. I want to give it a chance, though. $16.99 is a little too expensive, though, to even give a chance. There's a bunch of language support. Let's see if we can see what this developer has made before this. Okay. Let's see. There's a game called the Pixel Art Masterclass Bundle, and it's bundled with another game called Crosscode, which I already own, which has pixel art from this developer, but nothing else. Alright, well, they are asking a lot for this game Resolution, but I'm willing to put it on the follow list if I can actually reach it. I'm gonna be generous and put it on the follow list. We probably are at the point now, though, where I could look at everything before, like, that came out before 2020, January 1st, and eliminate all of that because it's probably had its 6 months of heyday. In fact, I could probably eliminate anything that came out in January or February even, because although maybe 6 months now might be a number to reevaluate, that was the number I was using before to say if a game doesn't have at least 20 reviews in 6 months, it never is going to have 20 reviews, or probably will never have 20 reviews. But now that people have less money, maybe people are going to be a little bit more willing to look for older games. I don't think so, though. No, I don't think that it works that way. Not in this case. I think people would still want new games if they're going to buy new games, otherwise they're just going to save their money. See, Gamatsu has an article here. Wrath Aeon of Ruin launches February 25th, 2021 for PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. This is one of those old school first-person shooter games. I've been watching someone review a lot of these, but I don't think that's inherently going to make me play a lot of these, because they really just aren't my style. But I am enjoying seeing someone else's take on them and trying to get closer to the people, the gamers out there that like those types of games and better understand them. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. Blair Witch for the Switch launches June 25th. Really weird when they announced this, to have a Blair Witch game. Really weird that it's coming to the Switch. I mean, it's not like there's been a Blair Witch movie that was good quality in the past few years. So it seems like it's, if anything, just a delayed movie tie-in game that was supposed to come out when the last Blair Witch movie came out. And I could sacrifice this if I wanted to, and then I could attack over the head. I mean, let's not do anything to antagonize him though, because he might try and do the same thing. Next we have a game on Steam called Shantae and the Seven Sirens. It is now out and no longer on early access, or I guess it was never on early access. It's already rated very positively. The Shantae series as a half genie is kind of like the closest thing you'll get to something that is sort of like a Nintendo game made from Nintendo on PC. It's kind of the best we're going to be able to get, and the Shantae series has been relatively good. So I don't really need a reason to put it on the fall list. I can just go ahead and put it on the wish list. It's like the 4th game in the series, and I think I finally managed to purchase the first game in the series, and so I have like 3 games to play before I could get to that one. I don't think that there's anything else that really needs to be said about it at the moment. Yeah. Okay. Well, at least this can be used. TechRaptor has an article here for a game called Sludge Life. They have a review, which, looking at these screenshots, it looks like it's a almost troll garbage game. Yeah, this doesn't look good. They gave it an 8.0. They said Sludge Life offers a very solid first-person platforming experience wrapped in a quirky, unique aesthetic. Its lack of challenge and brevity may put some off, but it's a wild and wonderful trip that deserves experience. Pros: unique, quirky aesthetic, enjoyable exploration, and feels like an interactive toy box. Cons are an inconsistent visual language, humor isn't for everyone, and there's not much replayability. I would say, looking at like this screenshot, I'm not sure if this doesn't get into the realm of being stereotypical, so I don't know if that's the kind of humor I'd be looking for, or that Steam would or YouTube would want me to be playing, frankly. It's ugly, to say the least. The art style is ugly. Seems like we're gonna do a lot of stuff. So if we're gonna do a lot of stuff, let's chalk this up and see if this does something to change the outcome. Yeah, you just use this to create a whole bunch of things flying with vigilance. OpenCritic has an article here. Gameplay for the Marvel Avengers game is coming next month, although in all truthfulness, from what it seems like, that it's not really even a Marvel Avengers game, as it has the Marvel Adventure games, but you're playing as Miss Marvel or Kamala Khan, which is not Captain Marvel or anybody of any major interest. Okay, let's go ahead and block that one. Probably should hold on to some of these lands and look like I have a card I can play. But whatever. What do we want to do? There's kind of nothing you can do. Gamatsu has this article, Xbox Series X backward compatible with thousands of games at launch. Thousands is a big number. I kind of want to see a full count. Really. But it definitely does feel like I could take my old Xbox 360, and if I just wanted to waste like $500, buy an Xbox Series X or even an Xbox One and just plug in all of my 360 games and then get backward compatible versions of them and play those old games the second time if I wanted to. The if I wanted to issue that is affecting me is going to be, I think, the same issue that affects a lot of people. It's very easy, well, relatively easy for Microsoft to make these games backwards compatible, considering how it's probably not going to be a case of too many people really taking them up on that offer. Okay, so go ahead and block that. And that's pretty much all we can do. We can sacrifice this. And we can put this back on the field. Gamatsu has an article here. Maid of Scourge for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC has been delayed to July. I have no idea what this game is, though. I've never even heard of it. Some kind of based off a Welsh, some kind of game based off a Welsh fairy tale. But let's see. You navigate the halls and grounds employing no weapon survival tactics, so it's a horror game based on a Welsh fairy tale. And we've lost all of our pips, and yeah, we're not going to make it to tier 3, unfortunately, but we did make it to platinum, and that is the real success there. Now it's just a matter of getting done with the stream without being in it, going really long, or being in an amazing amount of pain. TechRaptor has an article here. Phantasy Star Online 2's Western PC launch has been plagued with problems. I feel like there's a fairly active community of people playing Phantasy Star 2 or Phantasy Star Online 1 still. So I don't know if there's enough audience there to really say that that's like an active property that they could actually make a Phantasy Star 3 and potentially try to bring in a new audience for people like me who don't really know what the Phantasy Star game series is about. But yeah, I don't know what the other option is for them to do, is just keep milking the old audience. I guess it is kind of like, why is there not a World of Warcraft 2 instead of them just constantly adding things to World of Warcraft 1? They should make a full remake and make a World of Warcraft 2. That game is old, the interface is old. we might as well get a cheap shot and hope he blocks. Of course, then this guy will attack. And here's what I was talking about, just more and more prologues. And the prologue is rated positively as a demo. Maybe there's a setting. That would be the thought, is that enhance Steam options. No, there couldn't be a setting because I'm getting these prologues told to me through the What's on Steam Twitter feed. So yeah, there can't really be a setting somewhere that says don't show me the properties or the prologues. Next we have a game on Steam, Alexis Almighty, Daughter of Hercules. This is a continuation of the long running resource management games from JetDog Studios. $10.19. It's too expensive when you know just how long this series is and how these games I don't think are ever really well received. Let's see. Well, you have positive reviews on them all, except for Sinister City. But you can also see there's quite a lot of them. And this is gonna get played, trying to bring everybody back to the field, giving them a ton of health. Let's see, Gamatsu has an article that a mystery first-person shooter called Industria has been announced for PC. It's due out Q1 2021. Okay. I don't really even know what to do with these trailers and announcements now. It feels like it's kind of gonna be puzzly and weird, but you have a gun for some reason and you're gonna be fighting some kind of monsters, so it's not just gonna be a walking simulator from the looks of it, or a puzzle game like Abduction. There definitely are some games, some ideas that could have been improved upon the Myst series and Abduction had, particularly with Abduction, had they just thrown in a gun of some sort, some kind of monsters or animals, something that just gets in your way, something that you have to shoot off with a taser to scare away or something. Although I think I did also criticize Abduction for having you at one point electrocute a bunch of fish, or at least make it seem like you possibly electrocuted a bunch of fish. I'm not sure there was actually fish in the water that got electrified. Let's see. Alright, well, we'll go with 3. But yeah, there definitely is something to be said about the idea of just having some generic action of something in a game that's mostly a walking simulator or a puzzle game. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article, Kingdom Under Fire Heroes is coming to PC. This oddly skirtless elf girl being focused on. This doesn't look very nicely animated, so unless this is a port of something from like PlayStation 2 era or Nintendo DS or something, yeah, this feels like a poor, ugly port of a 99 Nights style hack and slash game. And yeah. It was released originally in 2004 for Xbox. I guess the original Xbox. Yeah, and a game just being released, particularly one that doesn't really have a lot of relevancy, it gets hard to make a justification there to want to go further with that. Guess I'll just attack with this and see what happens. Next we have a game on Steam called Hotel R&R, which looks like it's a troll game, asset flip game where you run around and just make it'll let you do a bunch of crazy mean-spirited things. Just it does seem to have a small level of interactivity, but I don't know. It's $19.99. It requires VR. It's English with full audio. It is rated positively, so it also is already on my fall list, so it must have just been updated now. Alright, well, they've got some update. And we'll leave it at that. Hotel R&R still doesn't really feel like it's a great game. Let's see. Next we have article. Azure Lane Crosswave is coming to the Switch on September 17th in Japan. Let's see. The photo mode is also going to be enhanced. Azure Lane still, as a gacha game, fairly popular in Japan at least. I don't really know why though. It doesn't strike me as particularly good, and I feel like it's kind of just a slightly good cell phone game. It's from Idea Factory, and maybe that's more of the reason why, more than anything, it's getting pushed to so many different platforms. But yeah, this is the version, not the cell phone version, but the version that was on Steam, and the version on Steam does feel like it looked like it had more higher action, but all the reviews on it were not good, not well written. No, the reviews probably weren't well written, but that's not the problem. The reviews were not positive, really. And yeah, I'm still not really seeing anything that makes it feel like it would be any real different.
I will rend the sun from the heavens. Heliod will pay.
Perhaps with the Switch controllers, it would control maybe a little bit better, but I still don't think it would be a good game.
Believe in yourself as I believe in you.
It seems still like Azure Lane is a little bit of a lewd game, but probably not lewd enough to actually catch even a modern teenager's attention. Like some cleavage and big breasted characters and maybe a bit of side boob at most. Of course, I would be doing backflips if somehow Destiny Child, the way more lewd game, was put on the Switch. I would be doing backflips for two reasons as to why it would be on the Switch in the first place, and I'd be really surprised if it tried to go mainstream like that. Moving on, we have a game called The Virtual Exhibition, which really feels like it's just another museum trying to put its exhibits in VR and not really doing a good job of it. The price is right, and they say they are doing this because of the pandemic. and it's English only, so yeah, you actually would have slightly lucked out, I suppose. I'm gonna have to make a decision though whether I'm gonna keep these kind of games on the fall list or not. Had you bought a VR headset relatively in the past 6 months to a year, you probably would have gotten a lot more entertainment out of that than you would have thought you would have gotten, because of Half-Life Alyx and because of the large number of museums releasing VR versions of it. Although, in all honesty, it seems like museums are kind of being silly by releasing VR versions, when if they really wanted their customers to see the artwork, they should be putting out just regular versions of a 3D environment to show off the art. But perhaps that is their intention, is to make it look like they're doing something and maybe waste some grant money that they got without ruining their one thing that sells tickets, which is the inability for people around the world to see the art. Because, yeah, definitely if I wanted to make a game and ensure that the least number of people could play it, I would put it on VR, and that would disproportionately disenfranchise poor people over rich people. So rich people who can afford a VR headset still get their artsy fartsy experience or something like it, whereas poor people like definitely can't afford a VR headset, and poor school systems almost certainly can't even afford a headset if you were going to try and have a school buy a few or buy even one and share it. Do I want to attack here or just wait? Let's just wait. Next we have a game on Steam called Way Far Home, which seems like it's probably mistranslated. It kind of looks good, but then it kind of looks bad, and it's a little bit over the board, all over the place as far as what it is, because it kind of looks like it's a platformer, and then it at times seems like it's a Super Meat Boy style wall bouncer while also taking on enemies, and it seems like you have a decent amount of health. And then the art, sometimes some of the characters look good, but some of the characters don't look good. It's 99 cents, which makes it too cheap. It's English only. Yeah, I don't think there's enough game here. This thumbnail also is suspect, as it's not very good quality or representative of what the rest of the game looks like. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. The Life is Strange developer Don't Nod has opened a new studio in Canada. I know that the two people in charge of Don't Nod were Canadian, but I thought they're or were they French? Maybe they were French and I just thought they were Canadian. So yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense in general though, because all they have made is Vampire, a game that didn't really succeed and sell enough that it needed to, and the Life is Strange brand, which, because of it being a little too SJW-y in the sequel, really made it less likely to make enough money to sell. I don't know if even the first game really made enough money for it to be a success. The first Life is Strange also went in crazy directions. It started as teasing itself as a game where you were going to have this time rewinding functionality throughout the entire game, and that they would expand on that concept and play with that concept, and that would be the main gameplay mechanic, and it really wasn't, because eventually you were doing things that were only slightly similar to what you were doing in the first chapter of Life is Strange 1. And every chapter kind of changed it up. Let's see. Attack. Let's just go with all attack. Yeah, I really don't think starting a new office makes sense, particularly when you know that it was Ubisoft that funded the original Life is Strange. So who knows where they think they're going to get money. On the other hand, this might literally just be a case in which none of the French video game companies want to stay in France because the French unions are so pro worker rights that they're not in a good enough experience to take advantage of the employees. And while Canada is only slightly worse than that, they probably are worse than the French labor unions. They probably aren't as bad as the French labor unions. So this might be that they're opening a new office in Canada and then they'll slowly wind down the office in France. It's about the only thing that would make sense. We have a report here that Jim Ryan, whoever that is, says PlayStation 5 will launch globally this holiday. And the PlayStation is not interested in bringing new PlayStation 5 games over to PlayStation 4. Apparently there was a whole press conference. There was this PlayStation 5 event that apparently happened like 5 hours ago. And PlayStation 5 will reveal games. PlayStation 5 games will be revealed on June 4th. Let's see. And then there was also another article here in an interview. Hideo Kojima says that Death Stranding was a success and that they've recouped all their development cost. And they're still in the planning stages of their next title. He also says that a big project he planned to do apparently fell apart, which probably is the Death Stranding movie, or whatever movie he was thinking he was gonna do. Like, I don't know how much I would really trust of Kojima to be honest about some of his business stuff. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if he went way over budget and he's just trying to gain more followers and gain more support for the next game. Because that would be the way it felt when he was working for Konami, is that it always felt like he was going over budget and then Konami had to be the bad guy to rein in the budget. Although maybe it was just a case of Konami being 100% at fault there, and they were just never funding him, Kojima, to the point where he should be funded. I mean, he can deliver on something. Death Stranding, I wouldn't say is a great game by any means, but it is a game. It is something different. It's pretty, to say the least. He managed some deals and product placement. obnoxious product placement for sure, but product placement nonetheless. So, yeah. We can definitely say that Kojima did not just immediately fail in his first solo adventure, which in all fairness would be the outcome for a lot of the other people that tried to do that. Okay. I can attack with this one. And let's just go ahead and attack with this one too. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. GTA 4 may be bringing back some removed songs. Okay. That's nice. It would be nice if they didn't lose songs in the first place, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. It doesn't really seem like that would be a good reason, though, to rebuy GTA once again. Like that seems fairly crazy as an idea. Alright. Just gonna attack with these three. Next, we have a game on Steam called Step Up 2020, which seems to be kind of an asset flip. Feels a little bit like a visual novel, but really it's just an asset flip game with a bunch of anime girls and trying to have a rhythm game. Here you can see this trailer. They're all just pre-rendered dances that probably don't really look anywhere that good, or just some kind of trailer or credit scene in the game. This is $4.49, English and Chinese, and yeah, it definitely looks like an asset flip, low effort game, and I wouldn't be willing to give it the time of day. That feels like this is the first victory we've gotten today in total. It's not, because we did the 2 victories very quickly for the Friday Night Magic, but it definitely feels like that was the first victory. And I guess that just means my mind gets reset after 3 or 4 losses, because these games are so long. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. A dark fantasy action RPG called The Unliving has been announced by Team 17. Okay, maybe there'll be something there. Team 17 seems to constantly be trying to do something different instead of just making more escapist games or making more Worms games. And I can't blame them for wanting to do something different and trying something different. And if they start to actually run out of money, I guess maybe they will at that point go back to making Worms games. Next, Gematsu has an article. A puzzle adventure game called Night Reverie launches this fall for PC. And this looks like it's maybe a little pixely, but maybe more as an art style instead of just as an excuse. It does kind of feel like a modern scaled up version of kind of a Zelda-like game. Doesn't look terrible. I'm not hating the looks of it. Alright, so we've got 10 turns. Or you can just concede immediately. yeah, I bet there are people that just see that strategy and give up immediately because of it. More cards. We haven't looked actually in a while to see what new cards we got. So, should have about 5 new cards. One of those, our 4th copy of this, our 2nd copy of this. Yep. It still does feel like we are a lot closer to having a complete collection than you would think, and it does kind of feel like more and more I'm just gonna spend a lot of wild cards to get the historic cards, and Wizards of the Coast and Magic are just not moving fast enough to get the older cards into historic mode on Arena. So yeah, I think I'm kind of well suited to be in a pretty good position to play historic and a great position to play standard, and unless I just drop the ball somewhere and stop playing the daily victories on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, that's it seems like everything's gonna work. And I still very much think I play way less Magic than the average person who plays Magic, but there probably are some people that just play Friday Night Magic and then they spend 3 to 5 hours playing Friday Night Magic, where I'm spending probably 9+ hours a week playing Magic between a 3-hour stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, plus the occasional extra game here and there, and a lot of time off screen. Unfortunately, we don't have a situation like Hearthstone, where in Hearthstone it was fairly easy to start a game, walk away from that game, and then just wait for the other person to get frustrated and concede and get a free victory that way. That doesn't seem to work as well for Magic, unfortunately. I still try it, but very often it just ends up with the game timing out on me. Here's that game Night Reverie, which we can put on the follow-up list and then maybe take immediately off the follow list again, because it's not even close to being out yet, but whatever. See, what do we want to attack with? This one? Sure. Your Gamer has this article. New PlayStation 4 games must also run on the PlayStation 5 starting from July. Sony is telling devs. Updates to existing games are strongly recommended to add compatibility. Strongly recommended, not exactly the same as being mandated or told that directly you have to do this. I also imagine it is not that hard to make a PlayStation 5 version of a PlayStation 4 game. I imagine that there's actually very little to change, and we may very well find that there's really not a lot of testing that happens in that setup anyway, so we may have a whole first generation of PlayStation 5 games that technically run on a PlayStation 5, but they were designed for the PlayStation 4 and they run very poorly and they haven't been optimized and they don't really take advantage of any new features that would be in the PlayStation 5. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony, along with Microsoft, and we already know Nintendo is doing this, I wouldn't be surprised if all of them are trying to shift more and more of their production outside of China. So tooling up and having all the production design and capabilities inside of China, where I assume the Xbox and the PlayStation 4 are being made, might not be ideal. So we could see a case where Sony tries to just stop making PlayStation 4s in very large numbers and starts making only PlayStation 5s in some place like Taiwan or some other country. Let's see. Moving on. Xbox One article here. Yomi wo Saku Hana for Xbox One has been delayed to June 12th in Japan. So this is a dystopian dungeon RPG. Yep, it looks like a dungeon RPG crawler. And it doesn't look particularly interesting either. I'll just jump through this trailer and see if I see anything interesting. No. Dungeon crawlers do kind of feel like asset flips in a lot of ways too, where the walls of the dungeons are asset flips, the characters are asset flips, and the gameplay mechanics are just very, very basic. Okay, we can attack with that one. I imagine we'll have more and more announcements of delayed Japanese games. Here we have a game on Steam called Spheres, the Ancient Fuses. And again, it feels like an asset flip game. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything of interest. It's coming soon. English, Portuguese, Brazil. Apparently doesn't use VR. Kind of felt like it might. Do I want to block her? Can I block anything? No, not really. Not easily. Let's do this. I only need a couple of things to win. Let's see. I think this wins. I don't think he can find the combination between doing 6 damage here and 2 damage here, and then this doing a bunch of damage also. Gamasutra has a post-mortem article here for Blizzard's Diablo 2. This was from 2000, so they're again advertising old articles. Another victory. 9 more victories technically needed. Next we have a game on Steam called Cameo CCTV Detective, which looks like it might be one of those games where you're controlling a CCTV camera, closed circuit TV system, but it really isn't. It's just an asset flip game. It's just an ugly asset flip game, and that's it. They're tagging it as a puzzle adventure simulation for $5.39, English only. Yeah, there's nothing here of interest. Let's mulligan once, and then keep that. And we'll just have to live with having only 2 mana. See. Next we have a game on Steam called Geo Rifters, which says it's a beat 'em up, but kind of looks more like a Smash Brothers attempt at something. This is a game I'd really want to see in movement, because it's not impressing me otherwise. Let's see. This looks like the real game screen. And yeah, it seems like you're almost playing Tetris with the environment, and then there's just a bunch of garbage all over the scenes. This is $25.49, which is way too expensive. It's English and Chinese. So, yeah. I don't know if you call that a Chinese low effort game or just a Chinese ripoff game. I guess you go low effort at a certain point still, because there's a difference between a low effort game that's selling itself for $1 and a low effort game that is selling itself for $25. And I think GeoRifters is definitely trying to do something that feels more like a scam than actually like selling a reasonable product at a reasonable price. And certainly there's a lot of that on Steam, but they're usually a lot less blatant about it. Or usually the games are super cheap, so you're paying 69 cents for a game that's not worth a penny, not $25 for a game that's not worth $1. See, next we have a game on Steam here called The House of Da Vinci 2, which looks like it is a hidden object adventure puzzle game. Not sure I want to play any more of these types of games though, even if there's literally not even a hidden object in this game. $19.99. English full audio. Let's see if this developer has a House of Da Vinci 1. It is rated very positively, and it seems like the only other game they have is mixed. So this deserves to be on the fall list, although at $20, again, they are asking way too much. A lot of these games need to be more realistic about their prices. Although, you know what, they're also setting themselves up for the Steam summer sale, I imagine, where they know that they're gonna reduce these to by 80%, 95% in the next couple of years during one of those major sales. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Queen of Night, and you can see it can't even maintain a good frame rate even in an empty, low polygon environment. Yep. This is just a Chinese programming test, not really a game. $4.99. English, Japanese. Okay, I'm wrong. It's a Japanese programming test instead of a game. There's just nothing there. Yeah, we're still getting a lot of garbage games, and a lot of them being Chinese or Russian. Small but perhaps growing number of Korean low effort games. But Western games in particular have been particularly sparse since even January, even before the pandemic. Next, we have a game on Steam that's just a bunch of Asian characters, and from the looks of it, it seems to be just a collection of anime girls and lewd forms of undress, and that's pretty much all I can get from it, because yeah, there's no description at all. English is not supported, 59 cents, Chinese only. Yeah, it doesn't even confirm what kind of game it is, whether it's a puzzle game. Doesn't seem like there's any text. They say it's an RPG action adventure game. I don't believe that for a second. And then you might really just be in this catch-22 scenario, or Steam and maybe in this catch-22 scenario, because these games get released and nobody looks at them or plays them, so they never get flagged as being bad games. I don't know. Without some form of editorialization, without some form of curation, I don't know how you fix the problem with so much stuff on Steam. And I don't know if it really even is a problem, because maybe only people like me see these games, and that it doesn't really matter, because only people like me know better than to actually buy them. Let's see. Moving on, we have a game called Captain Disaster in Death Has a Million Stomping Boots, which looks to me, says it's from 2017, but it looks like it would be a game more suited in the mid-80s as a point-and-click adventure with terrible animation, MS Paint level graphics. It's $7.19, English only, with a third-party EULA. No thanks to that. There's absolutely nothing impressive there. Next, we have a game on Steam called My Sail in Sea. I doubt I'd want to play a boat sailing simulator with Minecraft level graphics, voxels. Early access, $7.46, English Chinese. Yep. See, the danger here is because Steam is now trying to have a Steam client specifically for China, is that we are going to just see a ever increasing amount of terrible Chinese games show up on the international Steam store on top, and unfortunately for the Chinese audience, probably on the Chinese specific Steam store also, which that's not going to make a special version of the Steam store for China look good if 98% of all the games on it are terrible games. Like, Steam for the rest of the world would not look good if it was missing all the AAA games and it was just flooded from day one with terrible games. I'm mad. From what I understand and recall, Steam started as a platform for just like Half-Life and a couple other games for a couple of years, and it wasn't until they started really growing it that they started getting other big AAA games on it. And you can see that with like the Nintendo eShop, is it's flooded with way too much garbage, and the Xbox Live Arcade was allowed to be flooded with too much garbage. Short-term gains over long-term investments really seems to be the way a lot of these storefronts go. Draft Sim responded to a Magic the Arena tweet. GeForce Now players, we hear you. They're working on a way to make Magic Arena support remain supported on GeForce Now. I don't know if there really were any GeForce Now players playing Magic Arena. I don't know why you'd need GeForce Now to play it anyways. And then Draft Sim responded, if you don't like GeForce Now, there are several other alternatives too. And then it goes to this link, which probably is just an article about how to run it on Mac OS, since I guess maybe that would be the one reason you would use GeForce Now, is if it was on like Mac OS or Android, or if you just did not have a Windows PC. I guess that makes sense. Attack here and attack here. Yeah, Draft Sim's article here is Magic the Gathering Arena on macOS release date and workarounds. You can use Parallels of VirtualBox. You can use Wine. You can use Boot Camp. Or you can use GeForce Now. What... The real question to ask there is, what is the percentage of people that have a MacBook or Apple book and Apple product that want to play games on it, or at least Magic Arena on it? I'm not sure if there's as high of a number as people think there is, because at the core, people with Apple MacBooks and iPhones don't want a lot of hassle. And I think at the core, you could probably describe Magic the Gathering as a lot of hassle. And so I don't know if there's really an overlap there. I feel like probably a lot of Magic players are PC Master Race nerds, not lazy artist Apple stereotype people. And even now, people that are doing like music and video production and photography and such, they probably aren't using Apple products anymore. If they are, they're being very silly, because that just won't work for the lack of support of software. Okay, so I have 5 health. Can I do something to save the day? No, I don't think I can. TechRaptor has an article here. Final Fantasy XIV, the Maiden's Rhapsody event crosses over with Final Fantasy XI. At that point, you're being really ridiculous to have crossovers between 2 different Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy XIV is the online game service. I have to remind myself of that. TechRaptor has an article here. Russian media accuses a World War II strategy game of being Nazi propaganda. I've definitely seen this show, and I've definitely heard people accuse that whatever channel or whatever show this is straight up Russian propaganda. On the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised if you could make the same claim for a lot of shows and a lot of channels from a lot of countries. I'd like to kind of see the receipts before I directly made the assumption that that was the actual case. But see the evidence, see the funding. Like if the BBC started spouting something like that, that would be one thing. Or if the PBS system in the United States started spouting some kind of propaganda stuff, that'd be pretty obvious to say, alright, this is fairly government funded and government driven. I don't think really that the governments of the UK have too much control on the BBC, and many, I think, citizens of the UK would probably want the BBC to be under more control, because the BBC tends to really do some stuff that irritates people. the at the core of it, though, any video game being Nazi propaganda is fairly silly. There is no National Socialist movement in any country that I know of that would be trying to be a neo-Nazi organization and raise the amount of power or influence that anybody who even believed in those ideals would have. It's just not something that feels like it's gonna happen. So I don't really know the point of pushing that idea. Like, Germany is not gonna rise up and declare war based on those ideas and those ideals. If Germany would rise up and declare war, they would do it for a whole new set of ideals and ideas. Let's see. So I can put this on the field, and then I could sacrifice all of these, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe not 6. Let's do this. And he could defeat me by killing this. So if he realizes that, I've lost. If he doesn't, then I've won. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not enough, so we now will activate this. You know what's funny is I could have probably won here had I not spent this 3 mana, because I could have played this other Bola Citadel now and then put this back on the field and tried to move a little bit further ahead. But I've lost. So let's just go ahead and pass. Gamma Sutra has an article here. The Just Cause developer Avalanche is opening a new UK studio. Seems like some people either are being very reckless or they were just locked into plans to make and open new studios. It seems really crazy that this is happening amongst all the economic crises. TechRaptor has an article here. Fallout 76 PTS debuts legendary perks in a new event. Public teams, I guess maybe is what that stands for, PTS. It does seem like they are still trying to support Fallout 76, and I don't really know why, but I imagine they will fairly quickly abandon it as soon as it's a year out or so. Or maybe Bethesda just has nothing better to do with their time. So, and they had just a lot of things in the works. We really are not getting 15 victories. I don't know if we ever got 15 victories in a 3 or 4 hour stream, but it is just getting worse and worse as far as trying to get these quick victories and trying to be done with it, trying to be quick about it in particular. Moving on, Game Sutra has an article. The EA renews a Madden NFL license through 2026. I don't think anybody expected them to not renew the Madden license. If anything, it would be NFL that wouldn't renew the license. And I don't see a reason why they would do that. Let's play this. Do this. And do this. And see if that maybe scares people away. I had a ton of duplicate tabs, same articles. It's fairly obvious that the mainstream video game journalism and video game journalism in general are just desperate for content. And it has probably been at least a month before there was anything to really report at all. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called My Mud Game, which a multi-user dungeon is Mud. This is a low-effort Chinese game. Also unique in that we don't see a lot of multi-user dungeon games actually coming to Steam or coming out at all. This is $15.99 English and Chinese. It's like, yep. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw Valve release this Steam Chinese client and then pretty much abandon it from day one after seeing just how many terrible low effort games are trying to be sold on the platform. That would certainly be demoralizing for whoever has to approve and look at all these games. And you certainly see that with like the Chinese government and their censorship approval of the games, is that they're just either stopping all processing of all forms, or slowing it down, or saying we're going to limit the number of games in general. Okay, that's not a problem. I'll just sacrifice that. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Turkey Hunting Unlimited, which just looks like a low effort asset flip game. I'm not sure if a hunting game really would work the way the old hunting games used to be sold. This is $7.99 English only. Because if you wanted to play a decent hunting game, there's been plenty of other games where you could just run around and hunt. Tomb Raider, one of the Assassin's Creed games, I think Assassin's Creed 3. There's probably several others. So if you did want to just lock into that, Far Cry Primal has probably got some hunting mechanics in it. And if you want to play a more realistic example of a hunting experience, you're probably insane at that point, because that would mean just waiting for hours and hours for a single buck or turkey to show up, and then taking one shot and having that single creature fly away or run away. Yeah, Turkey Hunting Unlimited, $7.99 English only. Nothing of interest there. Next we have a game on Steam called Titan Chaser, which seems like you might be chasing a giant creature in the darkness, or you might be just chasing an Aurora Borealis, or you might be just driving around a dark environment. See, it does seem like there's just a giant creature, but it also feels like this is kind of nothing as far as a game. That's fairly boring to just drive after something. It's early access for $4.49. It says it's English with full audio. Surrealist driving experience is how they're describing it. Nope, I don't think I need driving experiences. Even if we were in a case of wanting to potentially simulate driving because nobody is driving anymore, that still seems like a silly offering. I don't think people are going to recommend or want driving experience. Okay. Oops, didn't use the things to my advantage. Let's go ahead and play this. And let's go ahead and attack with everything. Next, we have a game on Steam called House of Detention, which looks like a troll game. Seems like maybe this is supposed to be Vladimir Putin, and then you've just got this dancing monster, and there's a lot of bondage S&M implication that seems to be thrown about, but the asset flips don't even seem to line up with here. It's not even tagged with having sexual content or anything. It's $5 and no, it's 59 cents. And yeah, it looks like garbage. Total garbage. Well, only maybe play 3 or 4 more games because I can see the beginning of the end, but there's still a lot to go through. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Sweet Story Nico, which is Japanese for cat, or the sound a cat makes. And here we have cat girls, anime-esque cat girls, although it does look like an art style that may have been done by a Westerner. And it looks like there's really no game here. It's also not being tagged with any adult content. It's 79 cents and a bunch of language support. And they're also selling you hentai story gifts and bundling with things, and that's the kind of bundle abuse I think Steam was trying to get away from. Let's get rid of that. Yep. It is kind of a shocking swing. You have some people that try to rip you off by selling sex and the anime art style, and some people that try to rip you off by selling trolls, silliness, and sex, and the troll asset flip art style. And I would say particularly that the anime art style is much easier to be tricked on than the troll art style. But I don't know, if you were a person that just is buying Fortnite clone after Fortnite clone after Fortnite clone, you might get tricked in there. The speculation certainly is that nobody is really getting tricked, or some insignificantly small number of people are actually buying these games legitimately, and the only reason they're showing up on Steam is because it is a money laundering operation to take dirty money and purchase these games and then clean the money so that it looks like actual income, legitimate income from sales of a video game. Of course, it's gonna be pretty hard to ever prove that, and nobody actually has proven it. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called FM, which is a dark screenshot game. Looks like it's probably an asset flip horror game. $4.49, English only. Whatever it's supposed to be, it's definitely unimpressive. Let's keep on making progress here. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Deed 2, and I know there's a game called The Deed 1, and I'm not sure that The Deed 1 is actually reviewed well. It's like, I think, a murder mystery. It's tagged as an RPG Choices Matter horror game. Let's see. Apparently, I already own The Deed 1, and it's rated very positively, and The Deed Dynasty, which I guess is some kind of prequel, so it does make sense for The Deed 2 to stay on the follow list, and we'll see if it gets a few more positive reviews. There was an announcement about the Borderlands movie that's in development, where Kate Blanchett is going to reunite with director Eli Roth, and she's going to be playing as the main character, probably playing as the first Siren from the first Borderlands series. So, if you don't recognize Kate Blanchett, here she is. And I kind of want to know who this is, more than anything. And she'll probably be playing not this Siren lady, but do we have an image of the other Siren? New Siren, the old Siren lady. The Firehawk is what she was being called for a brief time there. Well, I don't know. We don't. Unfortunately, we don't have a projection there. Okay. Let's do this. Well, that's no fun. Just wait a turn. So, yeah. If the Borderlands 1 movie, or if the Borderlands movie is going to be like a combination of the story of all the Borderlands games, that's interesting, but I really don't know how you get a story there. Like, when you really think about it, I don't know how you take a high action game that's obsessed with kind of college bro humor and guns and turn that into a 2-hour movie that's interesting. Like, if you just tried to tell somebody the events of the Borderlands series, I don't think they'd be very interested. Alright. We've got this. That. And then that. And then that. Yeah, you can do about 8 damage if you've got a good setup before anything else even happens. Then we'll go ahead and attack with that, and that one there.
Our souls will remain bonded, friend.
What's more interesting to me is that Borderlands has done something very different here. They've been using the shift codes for a long time to give out 5 golden keys on an almost weekly basis, if not bi-weekly. And that was great, but they've always put out like one tweet just for the pre-sequel, or one tweet for the Game of the Year version or the original game. I'm not sure the Game of the Year version, I'm not sure if the original game actually had a shift code ability, but the Game of the Year edition clearly added it. Or they put out one code specifically for the Borderlands 2 game. And if anything, they mostly focused on the Borderlands 2 game. They now have decided to optimize it, as I'm about to win, and put a single shift key for all three of those games in one tweet. And more specifically, they put out a single shift key for each platform. For all the platforms combined, is what I meant to say there. Whereas previously, a Borderlands 2 shift key would be for PC, here's the code, here's for Xbox, here's for PlayStation. So they have done something in their background database to just merge those shift keys together. Why they weren't merged in the first place, I don't know, but they weren't. I don't know when I got these packs either. So it seems like maybe there's a little bit more optimization going on there. And you might want to read that they're maybe getting a little tired of putting out the shift keys. But I mean, it's a really great idea. So I don't know any reason why they would ever stop. Getting people to go back and play their old games only makes less sense if they wanted to try and push people to play the new games, and I don't think that would really work. So we have one here, and one here where we got a fourth copy, and we're continuing to make progress on the other cards. Excuse me. I'm gonna run out of water to drink here in a second. Wearing out my voice. That is something about even having streamed for 5 years. There really is only 3 or 4 hours it seems like you can go talking, and it doesn't seem like practice expands that ability by any amount. And I guess if you think of like radio DJs and people like that, there does seem to be a lot of breaks and a lot of people you can throw to that have talk so that you don't wear out your voice completely. And even in concerts where there's like a main singer, I think they often have acoustic songs that they play to have a break, or they just take breaks between songs. So yeah, it does seem like there is a maximum limit on how much you can use your voice. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. Rigid Force Redux launches June 5th. This looks like a side shooter R-type style game. Doesn't look particularly interesting, and I don't really feel a need to watch the trailer, but yeah. It doesn't look particularly like it's a bullet hell game, whereas most of these shooters these days are bullet hell games. Alright, let's put that here first, and then that here next, and then go ahead and attack, and then not sacrifice a creature on this turn in case they decide to play some kind of spell to attack this creature, then sacrifice it. We have a game on Steam called COVID The Outbreak. We knew we were going to see things like this. In all fairness, this does look like it's a halfly decent made game, but I don't think I want to play a game that's just trying to sell on tragedy, really. $12.59. and it says help us fight COVID-19, and I don't know how that really would be the case. And then they're promoting this other game called Dark Moon. 20% of our net Steam sales will be donated to a charity. Yeah, and thus they can get a nice tax write-off. If we look at them, this game Dark Moon doesn't look particularly interesting. That was kind of interesting though. It jumped to a full video screenshot. So they have a full video, but the full video always starts with something that looks like it's 4 independent screenshots. The other games from this developer are mixed. They don't, or negative. So yeah, this is someone trying to take advantage, not someone trying to do a good thing. Let's go ahead and sacrifice this. Didn't work out as well as I had hoped it would, but fine. Okay, now play this, play this, and play this, and in the turn. TechRaptor has a article, If Found review, which this looks like it's a pencil sketched book visual novel from the looks of it. Seems to be badly drawn. Let's see. They give it an 8.0. I don't know if I'm maintaining faith of their review system at this rate. They've seen 2 games that I'm equal to its power. I'm not sure I trust this review anymore. Alright. That did not work. Would there have been a way I could have done that so it would have worked? Maybe. But I don't know. But it's not even really a bad thing for this to end up in the graveyard, because you end up bringing it back anyways. Alright, well, we've got to do this to go forward. Then we got to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And then that. And we are not ready to play it yet, but we're close. They say If Found is a visually impressive and deeply personal experience that centers around emotional resonance above all else. Pros are visually distinct, well-paced, emotionally charged narrative, unique erasure as transition mechanic. The cons are head-scratcher ending and very little replay value. And yeah, I'm just totally scared away from anything that even looks like a visual novel. So, I don't think we're gonna do that. And 17, yeah, I won. Why would I not be happy about that? 17-4. He saw his demise even with the major health advantage. And we are really just, you really just do get cards left and right if you can get the victories. Next we have a game on Steam called Karos Light, which looks like it's a French kind of badly animated adventure game. Doesn't look that interesting. English is not supported, it's free to play, French only. So, yep, nothing there. And definitely I want to start wrapping up, and we'll try to move fast here. Yeah, we have a game called Pixel Strike 3D, which is just a Boombox / Minecraft clone. If anything, this looks like complete direct asset theft from Minecraft. At least some of the skins definitely look like that. Although, in all fairness, if you were capable of going and downloading a player's skin from Minecraft, and then you're wrapping that blocky square skin around a character in your game, is that unique enough to be copyrightable? A block person? Like, block people have existed before Minecraft, I'm sure. Regardless, this game is free to play, and it's English only. It has a third-party EULA, and it's already rated mixed, so there's no reason to give it any consideration. Next, we have a game called The Beast of 9500. It too is mixed, although this looks kind of nice. It must just run at a terrible frame rate. And I think what we've run into is there's probably a Unity or Unreal asset that just depicts dinosaurs. And so, because I've seen a couple other dinosaur asset flip looking games. This is early access, $9.99, English, Chinese, and Russian, which is, again, not a good combination of languages to see support for if you're trying to avoid low effort troll games. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Indie Calypse. Indie Calypse as in, I guess, Indie Apocalypse. And it seems like it is just a bunch of weirdly animated like characters that some of them look somewhat familiar. Or they seem like they look somewhat familiar at least. But I don't see anything here that makes this feel like a good game. $11.04 discounted. Bunch of languages. Yeah. I don't think I want to give that one the time of day. I'm willing to risk that would be a hidden gem, or yeah. We actually made it to 10 victories, only because we got 3 or 4 instant victories today. Magic the Gathering has the Arena Open Primer to explain the rules to you. Since I won't be taking part of it, even if you are going to get like special skins for playing, that's not worth my time. It's not. I can't even afford it, so it's not even in the question. It's not even a question. And it seems like that event may very well take place over this weekend, so then it becomes slightly questionable as to who wants to spend their weekend playing Magic when they could be doing something else, although the something else they could be doing might be rather limited this weekend compared to an average weekend. Moving on, Komatsu has this article. Goosebumps Dead of Night has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, coming out this summer. The Goosebumps video game series oddly seems to keep on going. There's like 3 or 4 Goosebumps games, when the Goosebumps book series, I don't think they're printing new or ghostwriting any new Goosebumps books, nor are they making a Goosebumps like new TV series. But it does look like what they're doing here is they're gonna take an idea of the Goosebumps stories and improve it. It feels a lot like it's going to be kind of based off the first Goosebumps movie, not the sequel Goosebumps movie. I actually got bored and fast forwarded through the sequel Goosebumps movie, but I thought the first Goosebumps movie was actually alright. But the second one seemed to awkwardly be written for a younger audience than the first one, and not really connected to the events of the first one, which I would have much preferred, since I would much have preferred the movies to be connected, and for it to make logical sense, considering they put Goosebumps 2 as the name of the movie. But there kind of is no reason why you would make more Goosebumps books or Goosebumps movies other than just name recognition, and I guess that's the same case with the video game, as it does have a good name recognition around it, because there are other spooky series out there that are still going on. There's a Netflix one called Creeped Out that I think they're still probably going to make some episodes of that, and I think they're working on probably a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie, if I recall correctly. They probably should just publish new Goosebumps books. There's probably a dozen or more you could write, or have ghost written, or just rewrite the current ones, making them slightly different. Okay, what do we want to do? If we play this, then we can put this on the field also. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Endless White, which looks like a low-effort survival game from the UI. Yep, it seems like you're surviving in the snow. There's a problem with making a game where you're surviving in the snow, because the snow would slow you down as your ability to move, and that's just going to make the game slower and boring. Early access, $11.99, bunch of languages. Nothing impressive here. They're not even showing an enemy or any kind of secondary puzzles or gameplay mechanics. And in general, I'm not interested in playing a lot of these survival games. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Masters of Puzzles. Some of these games came out as early as like Monday, and we just never got around to it. This is just a jigsaw puzzle game with maybe a little bit more polish to it. It is probably the first game I've ever seen that gives you actual bowls to use to sort your pieces into, instead of letting the player kind of neatly organize all their pieces in a magical infinite table that's just bigger than any table would be. Unfortunately, Masters of Puzzle is $24.99 and supports a bunch of languages, but requires a third-party account. So that's just way too expensive. And yep, we will keep on playing and seeing if we get another quick disconnect, but this should probably be about our last game. Next, we have a game on Steam called Mana Rocks, which is another card game, collectible card game from the looks of it. Doesn't look terrible, doesn't look particularly amazing. It's free to play, it's mostly positive, it has single player with in-app purchases, and requires a email address linked to it. Let's see. Seasonal card game. The cards change every season, creating a new experience and always changing. That's a new way to sell things. I'll put this on the follow list, but highly unlikely I could be convinced to abandon a well-known and somewhat popular game like Magic for a completely unknown game like Mana Rocks, particularly when I already know I'm going to abandon Magic as soon as the Marvel card game comes out from Second Dinner. And probably as a small cleanup, as soon as that Marvel card game does come out from Second Dinner, that probably would be a good time to go through the follow list and eliminate a lot of collectible card games, because I have no desire to play even do even a spotlight of a collectible card game that's not something I'm going to play, even if it did somehow turn out to be a really good game. It's kind of funny, the spinning wheel makes a rooster sound. Next we have a game on Steam called Under Shelter, which looks like it's some kind of Asian, I'm not going to even guess which country, survival game where you're sending people out to get resources after like a nuclear fallout game. It's early access. English is not supported. It's 1169 and it's Korean. Interesting. And then if you look at the characters that are drawn, I guess these are either just random characters and asset flips, or Koreans see themselves that way. I don't know if Koreans really see themselves like this. But yeah, it's a Korean game and it's not English, so I can't put it on the follow list, to say the least. The game doesn't look particularly good either, but it's a little hard to tell. Alright, let's do this. I guess that's where we're gonna stop. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. The Darklands creator Arnold Hendrick has died, as an obituary. He was the creator of the Microprose 1992 RPG Darklands. He passed away at 69. I believe he had terminal cancer, which it's always nice to have one of these obituaries where they actually tell you what they die of. I don't recognize Darklands, however, if that matters in any way, but he clearly was one of the older first generation game developers that are still around, or were still around. Man, I wish I could get these kind of victories when playing against ranked people, but I guess once you're up to platinum level, people know how to get around your tricks. If anything, my deck has just gotten more effective lately. I don't know why. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Command & Conquer Remastered is going to include cut content. I don't know if that means it would be better content, though, because that would be weird. Now, I don't think Command and Conquer, all of Command and Conquer, is available on Steam. Maybe some of it is, and I may actually own some of it, and I would hope that would mean I would get a free update to the remaster, but I wouldn't be surprised if I don't, and that it's just going to be one more of those games where if I do really want to cover it, I probably should buy the remaster. After having spent so much effort and time playing a visual novel game, though, playing a long running strategy game would prove to be very difficult. I wish there was an easy way to say, like on Wednesday, instead of playing Magic, I would play Command and Conquer, because that would work out fairly nicely, and they'd be about the same length. But there's no way I could pay as little attention to Command and Conquer as I pay attention to Magic sometimes. So that really wouldn't work, and I wouldn't be able to cover the news. Of course, there is probably plenty of opportunities where I could just skip covering the news. But yeah, I think I would definitely need a extra little block of time to try and play Command and Conquer, and I really don't need to review it too much. Just when the remaster comes out, unless it's total garbage, I'm gonna tell you to play it. You should play it at least once in your life. Maybe not 4 or 5 times in your life, but at least once. And pretty much all the Command and Conquer games are worth playing, in my mind. I think so. I don't think there's one that's particularly bad. Let's see. Let's go on in auto pass. TechRaptor has an article. Summer in Mara receives a free demo and a June release date. This was the game that was poorly named in my opinion, because Mara is like the island, but it kind of feels like this little girl, the character you're playing in, it is called Mara, and yeah, that would be an unfortunate way to translate that. But otherwise, it is just a kind of 3D Stardew Valley type game, and I'm not sure I'd want to play it any more than I'd want to play any of the other 3D Stardew Valley type games, considering I didn't even enjoy Stardew Valley. Yeah, I just sacrificed that for no reason. All it was going to do was tap it. But it did stop him from drawing a card. So it does leave the impression that that card was very not really worth it. Or not worth much. Next, we have a game on Steam called Logjammers, which looks like it is a Windjammers clone. So, alright. Doesn't look great. I don't know if I'd want to even cover Windjammers, let alone a clone of it, but it's early access. It's $4.99. It's English with allegedly full audio. We'll put it on the fall list and see if it gains the same audience that Windjammers managed to gain, or as big an audience as what Windjammers managed to gain. Okay. Do we want to do this? I think we do. Just go ahead and attack here and see if he lets it through. And then sacrifice. that. And then sacrifice that. And now we just have 5 food tokens for Bola Citadel to use, or for us to recover our health with. Let's see. Let's play that. And we don't have enough to play that. But that's alright. The Elder Scrolls Online has updated now, so it has the subtitle Greymore. It's mixed reviewed. It doesn't seem like the Elder Scrolls Online specifically releases different versions of itself. It just seems like it changes its name with a new subtitle. You think maybe Valve would have a problem with that, but they're letting probably Bethesda get away with more than they normally would. Because there is a lot of shenanigans with changing the name of your game to try and rebrand and hide things and hide a negative association with the previous name of your game. Okay. Let's see. If I play this, then I can play this, and then we can't do anything. Next we have a game on Steam called Logically, which looks like it's some kind of logic puzzle game, or a combination of different logic puzzle games. Usually you see games that just have one kind of logic puzzle and that's it. It's kind of a Unity one-screen game, and it's not even very pretty by that standard. It's $3.99, English and Spanish. It's 8 different kinds of puzzles, 9 difficulty levels, and apparently infinitely replayable, so it probably just randomizes the puzzles to you. It does have the feel of a mobile game, a little too much. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Ragnarok, Raid with Gods, which looks like it's combining card combat with some RPG elements and some board movement, and they're calling it a roguelike. Also, it's early access, $17.99, English and Chinese. So I'll give it a chance, even though I'm iffy on it being a Chinese game. It does look like it's visually nice, but they may simply be asset flipping some nice visual assets from 2 or 3 games into a concept of a game that just would never work, because that is certainly a lot there to have card combat and RPG and roguelike all together. Next we have a game on Steam called Agent 00 or 00. It looks like it's an isometric puzzle game where you're manipulating the universe. There might be something to this, or it might just be insanity in total. Let's see. The game is free, and it's English only. Is it a student project? Nope. So it's just a free game. I don't have to review a free game. I'll say check out Agent 00 if you're interested in it. It looks like for the price you're paying, you're probably getting a decent deal. Okay. Let's start with this. And start activating this. And go ahead and activate this again. And go ahead and activate that again. And let's go and attack. This next game is quite unique. It's called Spot Sample Witness Simulator. I don't think it actually is a game at all. It's more than it is a VR training tool for doing gas leak spot samples. I guess when installing natural gas in like either commercial or residential areas. It is this unique looking thing that I guess you're supposed to stick that in the ground and get a sample from. I think I've kind of seen this weird tool before. It's definitely such a specialized piece of equipment and such a specialized job that you're doing, though it totally doesn't make sense that a normal person would ever want to play this game. And at $199.99, it's way too expensive. I kind of get the idea though of putting professional software on Steam for VR, because it does seem a little crazy to not integrate the VR easiness of setting up VR through a Steam client and have your own separate game. But it is weird that these aren't they are just kind of showing up as games and not being displayed as something different. Honestly, if it was a piece of software, the background should probably change completely. Get away from the blue into something more standard, just like a white background. I think Steam's entire layout should probably be rethought, but it should look different, I think. Let's lose its activated abilities. If they're gonna try and wreck me that way. This one can't be blocked. Just need Bowl of Citadel and we could potentially win this. But if we can't get Bowl of Citadel, I don't know what we do. Next we have a game on Steam called Casa Voice of Dusk, which looks like a collectible card game again. And I'm a sucker for collectible card games, so I'll put it on the follow list. It's already rated very positively, but it's also early access. It's free to play with in-app purchases. And that definitely puts me in a weird position because I generally don't want to bother to review or play free-to-play games, but when talking about a collectible card game, I would not give it the time of day unless it was a free-to-play game. So there is an inconsistency there. Next we have a game on Steam called Sword Shot, which just looks like it's kind of a low color asteroid shooter, shoot 'em up type game. Let's see. $4.99. English only. Yeah, there's just nothing impressive there. We have about 5 more games. Next we have a game called Ayre, A-Y-R-E, which seems like it's a low polygon dragon riding game. There might be something here. Probably not. $13.49. English, French, Italian, and Portuguese. It's not VR supported. It's single player only. I'll put it on the follow list and see if it gets any reviews, but it looks to me like it's probably a little bit too close to an asset flip game instead of an actual game. May lose this one. We'll just have to see. See, next we have a game on Steam called Hellwire, I guess is how you'd spell that. Helwyr. This looks like it is a survival game in a snowy environment again. It's a little odd, we're approaching the summer and we're in the summer and we're getting snow games. They're kind of backwards on that. This is early access for $1.99, English only. Yeah, at that price you kind of know there's nothing going to happen here. I'm not seeing any enemies or any like weapons or gameplay mechanics. And yeah, he's just gonna play that again, so we'll just again sacrifice our creature and just get more health back. See, next we have a game on Steam called Cauldrons of War Barbosa, which looks like it's a pretty text-based game with maybe just some tabletop gameplay in it. It's early access, $4.99, English, French, and Russian. Nothing impressive there. Yeah, I think they've got me. I don't think that there's a great way to survive this one. We'll just end the turn here. And then we'll activate this. And we'll tap that guy. And then we'll activate, can't activate that, so we might as well activate this. I need some food. And then we'll resolve. Next we have a game on Steam called In Search of a New Home, which looks kind of like a pixely platformer, but I'm not seeing any enemies. Alright, I see one enemy and some hearts, and that seems about it. It seems like you're moving fairly slow also. Yeah, I don't see anything here that looks fun. $1.99, English and Russian interface, and then French, Italian, and German, and other languages subtitled. There's almost the beginnings of a good game in that, and the name of the game is not terrible, but not enough there, really. Can we block any of these guys? Seems not. Seems like we can't. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Insider Interactive Movie, which is mostly negative with 14 reviews. And this looks like a full motion video choose your own adventure game. It's $1.99, and let's see, is it getting downvoted because it's Taiwanese? It supports English and traditional Chinese. Let's see. There's no backstory, and we never get a chance to find out what's going on or why we should even care. The whole thing is just a few minutes without the viewer even getting a chance to find out what the story is about. Let's see. If I have to suffer, you have to suffer. Alright, so, yeah. Doesn't seem like it's getting, like, downvoted or brigaded with 14 negative reviews. If anything, there'd be a lot more negative reviews, wouldn't there? Just seems like it's a bad game. And alright, and I'll take it on the face of that, not put it on the follow list. It sucks that we have to worry about anything that looks remotely Asian to see if it's being brigaded by some other country, or China in particular. But that is the case that it has happened once, and thus it might happen again. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Cards and Crystals, which seems to be like a combination of a match game and a card game with some very weird animation on top of it. And you have a weird character who seems to be topless. Yeah, I don't think I like the way this is drawn or the interface here. This seems like this is probably a bad Chinese game. $10.79, English only. Alright, well, maybe it's just a bad English Western game. But, yeah, does not look fun. It wouldn't be terrible if something like Magic had a minigame to play while they were loading into the next match. Something that would give you like 10 gold every time you made a match, or 1 gold every time you made a match. That would be interesting, at least. Something that could, or you could just maybe, instead of get rewarded for playing a game while you're waiting for the real game to start, you simply get to organize your cards or build a deck without doing anything else while you're doing all the other stuff. Here we go. Go ahead and sacrifice this. Put this back on the field. Then we gotta lose. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Proyecto Flamingo X1, which sounds like a Portuguese game, if I was to guess. And it seems like it's really just screenshots. And the video here almost seems like it's a magician talking about a cell phone or something. Play this game if you want to exit the simulation. $5.99. So yeah, this seems like this is probably a troll meme game talking about the popular thought experiment that we all live in a simulation, which is way too popular and kind of silly and pointless. A lot of these like conspiracy theory thoughts really boil down to, if it's true, how does it change your life? If it's not true, how does it change your life? If the answer is it doesn't change your life either way, then why waste any thought on it at all? Anyways, we have one more game called Wildfire, which seems to be a game where you're throwing fire and using fire abilities to move around. This almost feels like a pyromaniac's dream. He seems to also be able to use water and ice, so he's some kind of mage. It's rated very positively. It's $14.99, and it's a bunch of languages. I'm willing to put this on the fall list. It is a little expensive at $14.99, but I'm willing to give it a chance and think about it. And then that brings me to the Humble Bundle store, and we'll see if there's any new Humble Bundle. There probably isn't. There's a cosplay book bundle. Let's see, RPG game development assets bundle. A Lock and Key comic book bundle, which that's poorly timed. But yeah, the only Humble Bundle we have is the Bandai Namco bundle, which ends in 3 days, and the City Skylines bundle that ends in 10 days. And then that could bring me back to my Twitter feed, but it's Friday, so we know that there's we know that there's no big news announcements that are going to happen. So since I've been having crashes, I'm going to wrap up without trying to bring up my OBS software. If it's crashed, it crashed a long time ago though, so we'll take that also. That's it for the stream. I need to get 3 more victories. Maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.